Hey guys, my name is Matsumiyo, and welcome to another episode of Did You Know? Now that the Win Bastion DLC is just around the corner, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to do another one of these kinds of videos. And so to start things off, did you know that Nomad's gadget will push enemy defenders a certain distance every single time? Now, I'm sure many of you are already aware of the way that Nomad's gadget works, but basically you're able to set traps around the map, and then when a defender walks by it in proximity, it will activate and then push them in a direction, basically away from the gadget, and also knock them to the ground. And so if we keep these two things in mind and use a little bit of coordination and teamwork and some of the other gadgets at our disposal, we can actually take this gadget to the next level and set up some more advanced traps. So Claymores normally are a great way to watch your flank, but the biggest weakness of them is that they're pretty obvious. Most people that played this game for a while are going to notice the Claymore, and there are a lot of ways for the defensive team to deal with it. Either if they're roaming, they may have access to impact nades and just take it out that way, or they can peek around the corner and just physically take it out by shooting at it. And so while they can be a great way to watch your back, a lot of times because of that weakness, it doesn't give you that much of a warning when they are eventually going to get the flank off on you. Well, if you incorporate Nomad's gadget into the equation, it becomes much more difficult for the defensive team to even know that they're about to step into a Claymore. So the way that you set this up is that you place Nomad's gadget next to a doorway, you place the Claymore a set distance away, you'll kind of see where we're placing it now, and then when they walk through the doorway, they don't see the red laser sight down below because it's not in the doorway itself, and then when they activate Nomad's gadget, it directly pushes them into said Claymore. Now, because Nomad's gadget doesn't make any sound currently, that might change when the DLC finally does go live, and also doesn't have any really bright light that indicates that it's nearby. It's very difficult for defense to realize that this thing is set up in said doorway. And so as soon as they round the corner, not expecting that there's going to be a trap there because they can't even see the Claymore lines, this is a very sneaky way and probably a very efficient way for you to be able to take out these roamers with really no effort whatsoever. Now, the downside of this strategy is that it does require a little bit of teamwork. You, as Nomad, do not have access to a Claymore, and so you are going to have to rely on a teammate to be able to place that down, and they also need to be somewhat competent in being able to know where to place it. So it is going to require a little bit of coordination, it is going to require some game knowledge there, but once people understand how to do this, this could be a very, very effective way at taking care of these roamer operators. Now, if you don't have access to a teammate that wants to cooperate or work with you, you can sort of do this strategy by yourself, but admittedly, it is a lot harder to pull off and it's not nearly as effective. So Nomad has access to breaching charges, and so instead of placing down a Claymore, what you can do is place down a breaching charge where you're assuming that they're going to land. Once again, you're going to learn kind of the distance of where they're going to fall, and then place that breaching charge directly onto that spot. And so just like before, when someone passes on through that doorway, they get pushed to the ground, hopefully directly over that breaching charge, and then you can take them out with that gadget. Now, I will admit that this is much more difficult to pull off because not only do you need to be much more observant of your surroundings, you need to be ready to be able to activate this. It also means that you can't be using breaching charges on any other surface throughout the map because you do have this trap set up, but also because this gadget doesn't really do as much damage or as reliable damage as the Claymore. Because they need to be directly over it if they got flung in another slightly different direction or didn't place it correctly, it may only do like 30 or 50% of their health. Still a significant amount, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to be able to take them out from 100% to 0. But that is another way that you can be able to take her gadget to that next level. The final thing that's worth noting about Nomad is that did you know that you can actually take out her gadget before it activates? So if you notice that she used her air magic in a hallway, that doesn't mean that that flanking route is now obsolete. Now, you will have to take it slowly, you can't rush around the corner and do this effectively, but if you do take your time, you can slowly work your way around the doorway itself and then get line of sight on the gadget and take it out with your primary weapon. Now, of course, this does leave you very vulnerable because if any defender is actually watching from that side, they're going to notice you slowly peeking, looking at every single corner of the doorway to try to find this gadget, but it is a possibility. And so don't just automatically assume that you can't flank from that location anymore just because she has her gadget in that spot. Moving on over to Kayed, as I'm sure you guys are aware, that his Electro Claw has an AoE effect to it that essentially allows him to electrify two reinforcements that are directly next to each other. But did you know that that gadget also allows him to electrify things through walls? It does require some map knowledge. You are going to have a general idea of the map layout, but if you want to, you can reinforce some walls, then go directly below to the first floor, fling this gadget directly up, and it's going to go through the wall and electrify those reinforcements. This is going to open up a lot more possibilities and creativity for the defensive team. If Twitch is being a nuisance and constantly zapping all of your gadgets, well, instead of placing his Electro Claw directly on the reinforcement where the Twitch would expect it, just place it below. You can also do this with barbed wire. Place a bunch of barbed wire in a hallway. You can then either shoot out the floor and then place it in between the beams, or you can just go directly below and fling it on up, and now they just see a bunch of barbed wire that's electrified with no gadget in sight. Not insurmountable, this is something that they can deal with, but it is going to be much more challenging. And so all in all, I cannot wait to see all the different strategies and tactics that people come up with this operator. He does only have access to 2 of these Electro Claws now, ever since the most recent nerf on the TTS, but even still, I think he's really going to be a game changer on some objectives because of this dynamic. If we make our way on over to the new Fortress map, there are a lot of Easter eggs to be found. Probably my favorite is in the kitchen. Not only is there a Tachanka branded cereal, which looks delicious, but there's a Dark Souls Easter egg in the oven. Now normally, if you look directly at the oven itself, all you see is fire, but if you have your drone go through the drone hole, you'll notice that there is a slit halfway through. If you then jump through this little opening, you'll be greeted by a sword and flame, which has to be a reference to the bonfire from the Dark Souls franchise. Dark Souls is one of my favorite games, and so the fact that they've included something like this, I thought was pretty awesome. Now, one Easter egg that I find really interesting is located in the music room, where you'll notice a box. Now, this box looks very similar to the one that was located on Tower. On Tower, there was an Easter egg where if you blew out this box, you could use your drone to get into a secret passageway and then into a secret room. If you do this very same thing, you'll notice that there isn't any way for you to use your drone to get it somewhere secret, but there is this little post-it note that says, "Tunnel under construction." Now, you could interpret this post-it note 2 different ways. Either this could mean that the TTS version of Fortress is not complete and they're going to add more Easter eggs. That could be what it was referencing. Or it could mean that there is some sort of secret tunnel under the construction side of the map. Fortress is under construction. There is the renovated side, and then there's the one that is incomplete. And so maybe this is a reference to some sort of secret that we haven't founded yet. I don't know. And so my hope is that there is something bigger here, and people just haven't found it yet. Ubisoft has indicated during the reveal trailer, or the reveal event for this DLC, that we were gonna have to use our drones to find some secret Easter eggs, and this might be the one that they're talking about. If we move on over into the infirmary, there are basically 2 Easter eggs that are directly on top of each other. One of them is pretty simplistic. If you make your way on over to the corner here, you'll notice that there is a black box. Well, if you shoot said black box, it will activate, and it's an eye exam. Well, unlike most eye exams, this one actually says just aim for the head, so kind of a cool little nod. Well, directly to the next of that, you'll also notice that there are some cabinets. If you use your drone to investigate said cabinets, you'll notice that there are some Rainbow Six Siege Operation Health bandages. I'm sure you guys all know about Operation Health. It's kind of infamous and famous at this point, and this was just a nod to that time period. And then finally, located in the dining room, you'll notice that there is a piano. If you shoot at said piano, the wood over the keys itself will be destroyed, and it reveals a photo. Most people are assuming that the people in this photo are Pulse, Ying, and Thermite, but some people are also speculating that the woman in the middle could be a future new operator. There's been some rumors kind of circulating. A lot of people are assuming that because there is a section on the map that indicates or shows off Australia, that she might be one of the new Australian operators. But once again, this is purely speculation. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Did You Know? I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure there's more Easter eggs to be found on this new Fortress map. It seems like they were going all out with it. And so if you guys have found anything interesting with this DLC, let everyone know down below in the comments. There is a lot of cool new mechanics and a lot of interesting new things that they've added with this DLC. And so if I've missed something, let everyone know down below. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.